So, you want to create a Minecraft server, but here's the issue. You don't know how. Or, what's worse, everybody you ask for advice gives you another answer. Self-host, don't self-host, use paper, don't use paper. What's the answer here? Well, today I'm giving you the basic rundown on how to make a mostly lag-free server and how not to fall in these common traps a lot of people tend to actually fall into. And I've also enlisted the help of a true veteran of the Minecraft hosting community and one of the people behind Admincraft. PM me your repo.
I go by a few names online. I'm Rhythmatic on Discord, and I'm PM me your repo on Reddit. And I'm the current top moderator on Reddit on r/Admincraft, and I'm one of the staff in the corresponding Discord server. We're a community for Minecraft server admins and developers.
So without further distractions, let's get going. This video will be split into 3 parts: how a Minecraft server operates and how to optimize it, the benefits and restrictions of self-hosting, and what to look for when you're buying a server from a host to not get scammed. So let's get started with the first part: how a Minecraft Java server actually works. Well, it boils down to 3 hard factors: CPU performance, RAM speed and amount, and how fast your hard drive is at writing and reading. Essentially, the perfect balance is somewhere in the middle, with the slower your drive is, the slower data like chunks and such gets loaded, creating slowdown. The slower your CPU is, the slower overall the server can handle with your building, exploring, and perhaps exploding. And RAM, well, RAM is just funny. See, since Java Edition runs on the JVM, RAM is usually one of the more critical parts. While a server needs to perform what is known as a stop the world event, where it needs to stop literally everything to clear out the garbage, it usually only takes between 50 to 22 milliseconds and then just starts up again. The issue is when this takes longer than 50 milliseconds, because then you will experience TPS lag. Most, if not all, servers use the generational garbage collector, or G1GC, which is great for applications requiring a lot of throughput, like Minecraft the game, but like all the garbage collectors, Java just struggles with really big RAM sizes. Maybe CGC can handle it better, but G1GC struggles with a big pile of RAM. If you dedicate too much, say 12 to 18 gigabytes, the server will simply just drown in the amount of garbage it needs to clear out for all the useless data it gets thrown at, thus slowing down the collection cycle and slowing down the server. If the RAM size is too low, the collection cycle will be triggered so much that the server gets stopped every 5 seconds and thus makes the server lag as a result. I'd say around 8 gigabytes seems to be the sweet spot for me, but why do we still get lag, even with so much RAM, even with a good CPU, even with a good drive? Well, you need to remember that Minecraft isn't designed to be an MMO. There are projects like Folia which try to change that, but frankly, I don't think Minecraft Java had any design behind it when it comes to multiplayer, other than just playing with some friends. So getting hundreds of people on the same world is going to be challenging nonetheless. Some of the immediate tips I can give you is to always pre-generate your world, make sure the render distance isn't set to the default of 10, 7 is for me the more optimal value, and if possible, don't let your players spread out too far, as loading too many chunks at once can cause issues unless you're, again, using Folia. When you make a Minecraft server, you will have to come to terms that at some point there will be lags. The optimizations we do here is mainly to stave that lag off for as long as possible or to make it bearable. That's why solutions like Paper and Purple were made in the first place, to optimize Minecraft to such an extent that yes, it breaks some vanilla game features for the sake of performance, but it's a compromise. If you don't want that, just go with Fabric. Both of these softwares are perfectly valid depending on the type of server you want to create here. And no, one Redstone YouTuber making a video that the software that breaks Redstone is bad should not form the entire basis of your opinion on Paper or other bucket servers. Yes, Paper sucks if you want a vanilla experience with Redstone, but the solution to that problem already exists. It's called Fabric. Just use that. Don't shit on anyone else who's using Paper for their own reasons. But in my experience, Fabric lacks some crucial things, like try and find me a nice little essential-like command mod on Fabric, or Forge for that matter. And now I've said that, I'm sure 100 Jimmies in the comments will link me to the one mod I didn't see for the last 10 years. But regardless, we'll get back to that later on to the video. The fact is, these 3 factors, CPU, RAM, and drive, are very important to keep in mind when starting a server when either buying a server from Pyro Moderate or my affiliate GG servers if you feel like supporting my work, or perhaps if you're building a server for our last option, self-hosting. Now, before we start, I did make a video on self-hosting here, but that was more in context with all the testing I was doing in relation to hosting providers, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. But in this video, let's just go all out. You can pretty much host on almost anything. In my last video, I used a 9-year-old first-gen i7 PC which had questionable cable management, but you could use anything from an old laptop or a discarded office mini PC like this one for just 150 bucks, or just any old PC you find that has an internet port. Bonus points if it's already had an SSD inside, though you might want to change that drive at some point if you bought it secondhand, especially if it doesn't have any RAM cache. Then you just install a Linux distro with Pterodactyl or Crafty controller, learn how to port forward, and bam, you're donezo. This will take some learning and the basic ability to Google your way to solutions, don't just AI it, but after it's all set up, you will likely never have to touch it again. That being said, if you live in a country where there's a high cost of living or high electricity bills like here in Belgium, you might want to have the alternative of hiring a server from OVH or Hetzner. I don't recommend that for like just a server for you and your friends. You can just use E4MC or Essential. There are loads of other options if you don't want to deal with hosting a server in your house. But mayhaps you want to be big. You want it to be a plug and play type of deal where you just buy something, it starts running, you just load up your mods, and you're done. Then, my friend, you might want to do what is known as buying a server host. So I've tested a bunch of hosts over the past few months, but my testing is purely CPU. The CPS tests are like 6% of the whole picture as they only test the CPU on their max load. And the lovely people in Admincraft have rightfully tear my ass into two about it. My CPS, my frames per second test, it's flawed. Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, so like, okay, so like,
don't hold it. You can be honest.
Sure. At the end of the day, it is like real talk, almost impossible to accurately benchmark a Minecraft server. People think of benchmarking something as like, oh, like, you know, I got a new GPU. Let's, you know, compare, you know, how many frames per second I get or something. Or let's do like a you know, fur mark test and see what the score is or something. You know, like gamers are familiar with benchmarking. When you are renting a server, there's so much more to it. Yeah, you're getting like a 9950X, whatever. You've got, you know, stuff like RAM and RAM speed. You've got your actual storage and everything. Like, these are all things that make sense. But beyond that, for one, if you're renting from a host, you're not getting that directly. You're running in a virtual machine on a hypervisor, and how that's configured matters. You know, if you have a host and they're setting, you know, you've got shared cores where, you know, one V core, you know, they'll advertise, oh, this package has 4 V cores, whatever. What's a V core? Is it a whole 100% of a core? The host I use gives me three full dedicated cores and up to 3 burst cores. That's a perfectly valid configuration, and it's a good deal, but how do you measure that?
So yeah, like I said from the very beginning, this is not a definitive benchmark. This is a waypointer to compare people between each other. This is not meant to be taken as the only value you should look at when buying a server. A lot of other factors are also important when considering giving your money away, but maybe there is about to be something that will change that. Maybe a sort of certification, a badge, an approved by Nintendo sticker. Well, Admincraft are actually working on that certification right now. A certification that a host must actually earn and not just buy.
So basically, the Admincraft service provider verification review, it's something I came up with back in November while the disagreements with the other Admincraft staff were still kind of roiling. Basically, what was going on? We had a marketplace in the original Admincraft Discord, and it was It worked basically like this. Someone joins, they self-assign the service provider role to themselves, and then they make a post, and they're advertising their business. And within minutes, you've got somewhere between 3 and 13 angry nerds who know way too much about the industry, all appearing in there at the exact same time, being like, where's your terms of service? Wait, you're hosting on what? You're using what hardware? Do you have any idea what you're doing? And it just immediately turned into absolute hazing. I got a lot of DMs from these hosts saying, hey, good luck with this Admincraft thing. That was the most toxic experience I've ever had in any Discord community ever. And like, I had to weigh these two things. So I ended up proposing to the staff, you know, this system that I had come up with. It was basically like, hey guys, what if we could take all of these angry nerds that are hazing the shit out of these hosting companies, put them in a room, slap a muzzle on them of rules, a code of conduct, and then like broom them up all nice and pretty so they're like presentable, and then unleash them on these hosts in a controlled setting so that they can do their thing and find all the problems, but because it's in private, the host isn't being humiliated. They get a chance to fix their things without their reputation being immediately and irrevocably trashed. And it's a civilized experience so that it doesn't feel incredibly toxic. Basically pitch your business, answer questions. Our review council, they will do almost a full-blown penetration test. They won't brute force any passwords or anything, but they will poke and prod just about every nook and cranny that they can, you know, without having to actually crack into your system. And they will find things. You know, if you are doing something dumb, they will find it. It's generally really effective, and most of the time it's a very positive experience, as long as you know, the applicants don't take the findings too personally.
But for now, what if you can't really tell if the host you want to buy is actually good? Well, fairly simple. If it seems too good to be true, it is. Alright, keep that very simple. If it doesn't have a website, it's shady. If it uses Discord for just you buying servers, it's shady. If it doesn't have any billing software, it's shady. If it uses enterprise level CPUs like Xeon and Epic, it's already a no-go. Don't stare yourself blind on the amount of RAM they give you either. If a host offers you up to 16 gigabytes of RAM with a shit CPU, the server will still perform shit. Go for a nice 8 gigabyte plan if you're planning on doing loads of mods or loads of players at once, but there are other signs as well.
So the easiest like dead giveaway is a very young leadership team. I've seen them as young as like 12 years old trying to run a company where they have to have their mom or dad sign legal documents for them and stuff, like, and there will be, you know, 3 or 4 like very young kids that are running this company that like ostensibly have actual tech skills. Like, it's, I don't want to discount this. Like, a child being that technically literate, that technically savvy even, is impressive. When you're very young, like when it's a very young kid running one of these hosts, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old, you can kind of tell, because like, and not being like ageist or anything, like maturity is not directly tied to age, but like there is something to be said for having life experience, just being on this planet. And it's something that, like, running a company, you really, it's really not just the technical stuff. It's not just like, can you Google for the right like legal forms to fill out, and you know, the, you know, best practices from, you know, whatever industry leader. Like, you can't Google like this kind of sense And that's like the number one thing. Like you'll end up with, like, in some cases there'll be a very young kid that's like, don't worry, the rest of the leadership team is all adult. Like you'll hear it, like there's like a 13, 14-year-old kid, and it's like, and you're running a company, and they'll say, yeah, but like everyone else on the team is an adult. And it's like, what kind of an adult? How old? 18.
But if you want a summary on how summer hosts work, you can read this shitpost right here to see how it actually operates. But that covers it really. With this knowledge, you should be able to make an informed choice on what you want to do. You either host it yourself, you go with a host that has a good reputation, and use whatever software you feel comfortable with. But know you will have your limitations, as it's Minecraft. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. It happens, like people make mistakes. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But the good part about mistakes is that when it happens, you can try again and learn from them. You'll be a pro in no time, trust me. But for now, let's just conclude this video. Minecraft isn't designed for massive multiplayer worlds. Period. All the performance mods you add, all the performance-oriented bucket forks you use are just a band-aid on an open wound. Lag is a thing you will have to deal with at some point. So again, pre-generating your world, limiting the sim distance, not spreading out too far, these are all great ways to stave off that issue for as long as possible. If you want a more in-depth look on how to optimize paper for servers specifically, you can check out this guide by YouHaveTrouble, or this Paperchan.mo guide by Eternity, a Paper staff member and Admincraft staff member. But it all starts out with a great understanding of what you need and great hardware. Keep in mind that tests like mine are nothing but a waypointer, just a way to compare each other in a very basic and raw way. And with this, I'll end my mainline series on hosting videos. It's been one hell of a ride. This has been a major learning experience for me, and yet again, it has been a great opportunity for the Linux community to once again come out and show how they can be both the best and the worst elitists on this planet. But I enjoyed my time here. I enjoyed talking to you. Even the arguments, everybody who disagreed with me, I thank you. We should all think a little bit more individually. So I really appreciate everyone. But for now, I really can't do any more hosting stuff, man. I just hope that these videos were helpful to someone. And with that, I was Lunar. You were awesome. And I'll see you for a next topic next time. Bye-bye. Hoo-wee. Alright, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching this series. I know the shorts have been dried up. I've been very busy. My girlfriend just got her diagnostic back from her tumor. It turns out not to be a harmful one, so that took up most of my time. But yeah, if you're a Patreon or if you're a Pebble supporter, you already know this stuff, but you get early access. For $1 a month, you get extra content, early access, you get a special place in my Discord, and I have my unconditional love to give to you. So if you wanted that for some reason, go ahead. But with that being said, this was fun. I hope none of you are too disappointed that it ends this way, because I really just can't add more to the pile than I already have. And yeah, I think that should be everything. Bye-bye.